The 2022 season was an amazing season for Kristin Tattar. I knew of her like most disc golf fans by now, but it wasn't until this year where her dominance made her one of the best disc golfers we've ever witnessed. She has had many successes in the past, but with COVID happening and hailing from Estonia, she had some setbacks. She competed in some big events before the pandemic, but because of the shutdown in 2020, it wasn't until this year where we got to see a full touring season from Kristin. Kristin was incredible this year, winning over $100,000 from this season alone. That's a remarkable feat among the disc golf scene. She showed us this year that she was able to take adversity and roll with it, able to bounce back from tough rounds and compete week in and week out against the best the world has to offer. But with so many chances at winning, Kristin did have a few bad moments this year we're going to be taking a look at. With that being said, this is the best and the worst of Kristin Tattar. Here we go. Since being a disc golfer performing over in Europe, Kristin really only came to the US for the big events such as majors. More recently she would tour, but the first few times we got a good glimpse of how good she was, it was at those big events. 2017 and 18 she started to play Worlds and USWDGC. Both of them with some solid showings, but it wasn't until 2019 when she made her mark. It would be a two-person race alongside Paige Pierce, who was going for her third USWDGC title in a row. Heading to Spotsylvania, Virginia. That's a doozy. I'm sorry for anyone who lives in Spotsylvania. Anyways, heading to Spotsy, round 1 would go in favor of Pierce, but Tattar would take round 2. All tied up heading into the third and final round. This was the best chance Kristin had at winning a major title. Kristin would get off to a better start than Paige, but those wouldn't be the holes that mattered. It was a stretch of holes starting on hole 8 to hole 16 where Paige would go stale, but Kristin would start to make birdies. Picking up 4 shots on Paige at that time, Kristin just had 2 more holes to get through to be a major champion. Paige would try her best, birdieing the final 2 holes to put the pressure on Kristin, but it wouldn't matter. No slip up from Kristin. After finishing strong, she wins her first major title. A common theme you're going to see that in order to pretty much win anything, you're going to have to beat Paige Pierce. These two would battle it out again in 2021 when Kristin started to play some Disc Golf Pro Tour events. At the Great Lakes Open, Paige would be leading by 2 heading into the final round. Hole 1 would not start out how Paige wanted it to. She would take a triple bogey. Right away, Kristin is now in the lead. Trading birdies back and forth throughout the rest of the round, Paige would pick up a stroke to tie it all up. Hole 17, par 5 uphill, both players able to have a look at eagle. Here's Kristin's putt.
She's already made 1 so far.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That is huge.
After that, Paige would have a chance to tie it up, but her eagle putt would chain out. Hole 18, Kristin would play safe and lay up. Paige, on the other hand, would go for it but come up short. Kristin's first Pro Tour win and a sign of what's to come for 2022. To win a world championship, you have to play 5 rounds of really good disc golf. You can make mistakes, but you have to grind through and play your heart out. Kristin did that at the 2022 Worlds. She was leading after round 1, after round 2, after round 3. Going into round 4, she was tied for the lead, but then finally heading into the last round, she was in lead by 5 shots. Round 4 would help her separate from the competition, but round 5 would put an end to all of it. In her final round, she would birdie 8 holes in a row, creating a separation that all she had to do was coast. Kristin won her first world championship in dominant fashion by 8 shots. Her second career major win and one that would solidify her as one of the best players we've ever seen. We've already taken a look at Kristin's best win of the year, Worlds, but in order to look at her best moments, we have to look at this season as a whole. 15 events she played in this year. That includes Pro Tour Elite and Silver Series and major events. When only looking at the events on tour that she played in, Kristin was 15 for 15 on podium finishes. 3 third place finishes, 5 second place finishes, and 7 wins. The Player of the Year race wasn't even close. It was Kristin all year. Now, she didn't win every time, but she was right there as close as you can be. This all culminated in the final event of the year, the Tour Championship, where Kristin had a bye to the semifinals round. The only person to shoot under par in the semis and in the finals, Kristin was able to top off her season with the biggest money win yet. $35,000, taking her earnings this year over $100,000. An incredible year from Kristin that would be so hard to beat next year, but I'm excited to see her try. We already have the stats on her, so many close finishes for her this year. With that comes some really close calls. Kristin had amazing moments this year, but she did have a few blunders. Let's hop right into it. You can't win everything, and actually in order to win, you have to learn how to win, and that means losing in dramatic fashion. Kristin's first close call of the year came at the Waco Charity Open, where Kristin had to chase down the leaders after round 1. Round 2, she would make up some ground, but the real action wouldn't start until the final round, where Valerie Mandujano and Kristin would trade birdies trying to get out ahead. Kristin would have to birdie holes 15 and 16 just to get within one shot, but hole 17 would not go her way. Out of position off the tee, Kristin would just pitch up to a better position. Meanwhile, Valerie was in perfect position and would throw a great shot looking at a windy putt to secure the birdie. Kristin would need to get up and down to stay in it, but she would push the sidearm approach into the tree line on the right. After finally getting up to the basket, she would then miss the windy putt to take her to a double bogey. Valerie goes on to make birdie and win the event. Kristin takes home second place. Texas State's was right after Waco, and it was a chance at redemption for Kristin. Paige Pierce would start out hot, building her lead against the whole field, but Kristin was right there behind her, staying close enough to make it interesting. 5 shots down starting the final round, Kristin had to make a move and make it quick. While Paige had more of an up and down round, Kristin would be steady, making birdies, slowly taking the lead away. Hole 17, down by 2 shots, Kristin needed to make an eagle on the short par 5. Downhill swinging approach shot, Kristin parks it for eagle. Now within 1 shot of the lead, hole 18 would be her chance. Up first, Kristin's drive would not turn over at all. Instead, it stays on hyzer and sends it over the out of bounds. Then on her next shot, she would connect with the tree early on, taking a terrible roll down the hill, again out of bounds. A rough end at Texas State's for Kristin. Both of those moments led to this one, the first major of the year, and Kristin Tattar was dominating it. Champions Cup in Appling, Georgia, the MPO finish was amazing, but not as crazy as the FPO. What has been deemed as a pretty weird situation, something happened in the final round. During the final round, Kristin had her daughter with her. Now, there are a lot of different stories about this and all the drama included, but the facts are that Kristin's daughter was not suitable to be a caddy, being under the age requirement. So Kristin had to hand her off to someone she didn't know in a foreign country to look after her during the round. That's what happened. Now for the actual play of disc golf, Kristin played okay. She was tied for the lead going into the final round, and she stayed in contention, making a lot of pars right alongside Paige Pierce. They would trade the lead back and forth, with it all coming down to the final hole. Kristin had a 1-shot lead going into the par 5 18th hole. She would play up the right side, fighting to keep it in the fairway. She gets herself in a good position for the birdie. Paige played the hole perfect, running the eagle putt. She has a tap in for birdie. All down to Kristin, this putt for the win.
Oh man, and that's more work than you want left.
Oh man, the nerves. Seen that from Kristin very much this week. Oh no.
You cannot deny Kristin's incredibly high level of...
Regardless of what happened during the round, this was brutal. Kristin went from having a putt to win, then a putt to tie, then missing another putt just completely out of it. However much the drama during the round affected Kristin, she battled and battled her best. Like I've already said, in order to win, you have to learn how to lose, and she did that this year. But we won't remember her for that. We're going to remember that she earned over $100,000 and whooped everyone at Worlds. What a season from the Player of the Year, Kristin Tattar. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments if you want more videos like this covering the FPO side of disc golf. Make sure to check out my channel. Plenty of other videos on there you might like. Cheers.